Get this page loaded here. Of course, now it says not responding. Okay, hopefully I can move this sucker up now. Okay, here we go. At this year's North Carolina GOP State Convention, the biggest item of business on the agenda will be to elect a new chairman to lead the NC Republican Party for the next 2 years. And for the first time in a decade, there will be 3 people running for that position. To give you a brief history lesson, let's review the last 10 years. In 2011, Robin Hayes was voted in via acclamation. Tom Fetzer had resigned earlier that year, and Robin Hayes was voted into the position through a meeting of the executive committee. The 2011 state convention was simply a rubber-stamped vote, but over the next 3 election cycles in 13, 15, and 17, there were always 2 candidates running. Now, my goal of this video is for you to have not just one choice for chairman, but also have a second choice as well. Because per the rules of the NCGOP plan of organization, a chairman can only win an election by achieving 50% plus 1 of the vote. So with 3 people running, it is very possible that a candidate will not achieve 50% plus 1 on the first ballot. So then the third place finisher will drop off, and it will go to the top 2 vote getters will be in a runoff. But fortunately, unlike a lot of runoff elections that take place, this will be held on the same day as the first election for chair. So by 9 p.m. this Saturday, we should know who the 2019 to 2021 chairman of the NCGOP will be. Now, allow me to introduce the 3 musketeers running for this prestigious position. First off is John Lewis. John is an attorney from Cabarrus County, aka the northeast suburbs of Charlotte. Mr. Lewis has extensive experience in the NCGOP, first serving as a precinct chair, then a county chair, then a district chair. After that, he was named to assistant legal counsel to the NCGOP. And finally, in February of this year, he was elected into the position of head legal counsel, replacing Tom Stark, who had passed away a couple months earlier. Candidate number 2 is Michael Whatley, who has been a Republican Party activist for the last 35 years, going back to his high school years and helping Jesse Helms get reelected to the U.S. Senate. He has also assisted with the legal work of the Florida recount of 2000 and was the Trump campaign chair for NC in 2016. Whatley currently lives in Gaston County, aka the western suburbs of Charlotte. Now, what exactly does Michael Whatley do? That is a pretty big question in all this. Okay, it says here Michael Whatley works with a wide range of companies and trade associations in the energy and transportation sectors, helping them with policy making, communications, and strategic engagement with Congress, federal departments and agencies, and state governments. Whatley's proven campaign government expertise assist HBW's clients to achieve their goals. Okay, there's a couple more paragraphs, not going to bore you all this. Basically, he's a lobbyist. Okay, that's basically all that tells me right there. Okay, so by the context of this article, it seems that Mr. Whatley knows his way around D.C. very well. But does he know his way around Raleigh? Does he understand how a state political party runs? It's one thing to help run the RNC, but running a state political party is an entirely different animal. And I've saved now the best candidate for last. And that gentleman's name is Jim Womack. Jim Womack is the current chair of the Lee County GOP. If you don't know where Lee County is, it's about 30 minutes drive southwest of Raleigh and about 30 minutes drive northwest of Fayetteville. Before Jim Womack took over as chair, Lee County was a dark, depressing blue county. But then in 2018, Lee County experienced something that most counties in NC did not. That's success. Winning 9 of 10 races on the electoral ballot. The only reason for the one loss was that a certain Republican candidate did not campaign hard enough. Mr. Womack graduated from West Point Military Academy and then served 20 years in the Army, followed by 10 years as an IT professional. It was in that IT position where he closed over $100 million in sales. 2 of the candidates running for chair, I think, will do an excellent job, but I am very, very nervous about what kind of performance Michael Whatley would bring to the state party. I've listened in on at least 2 different candidate forums now, and the one person who never talks about what they do for a living is, guess who? Michael Whatley. Now, before I go any further into this broadcast, I have to say a special thank you to Mr. Roger Farina for filming the last 2 candidate forums where I've gotten most of my material for this broadcast forum. Mr. Farina is running for chair of the District and County Chairs Association. So he's a very busy guy, and he has a lot of other things on his plate. But for him to do not just 1 but 2, film 2 candidate forums, to me, is a very, very selfless thing to do. It really shows you that he cares not about himself, but about all activists in the NCGOP. Okay, so the first candidate forum that I'm going to discuss with you is one that was hosted by Asheville Tea Pack last Saturday. And I should note that only 2 of the 3 candidates participated, and those candidates were Michael Whatley and Jim Womack. Now, John Lewis, well, he was out in Los Angeles taping a new season of Shop Till You Drop and channeling his inner ability to act just like game show host Pat Finn. I kid. I actually heard he had a family emergency and was unable to attend, and I hope everything is okay with him and his family. Now, for part of this commentary, I have sound bites from Mr. Whatley and Mr. Womack, and I hope by playing these sound bites you will be able to understand my reasoning for why I will be voting for Jim Womack this Saturday in Concord, North Carolina. Now, this first audio clip has to do with what do you think the role of the executive director should be. In other words, Dallas Woodhouse will be resigning next Sunday at the close of the state convention, and a new executive director will have to be picked by the Central Committee. So we're going to hear what Jim Womack's thoughts on that are. Let me see here. You get this sound bite. Sound bite. Let's see, X out of that. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see, I got the second, so I want to go to first soundbite. Okay, here we go.
The executive director of the party works at the discretion of the Central Committee of the party. That's the way our governance structure is set up. And that means that we have to obey what's in the plan of organization that describes what the executive director does. And far be it for me to tell the Central Committee or to deviate from what the requirements of the plan of organization are. Basically, the executive director of the party, by outline in the plan of organization, makes the trains run on time. He's the person, he or she is the person that is supposed to ensure all the resourcing is done, to make sure that the headquarters is responsive to the district and county chairs, to ensure the communications are occurring effectively, to include the communications director of the party being on message and on point without embarrassing the party. The executive director is responsible for making sure that we are recruiting candidates, that we are grooming those candidates, that we're preparing them in every way so that they can run an effective race. The executive director of the party is also responsible for collaborating with with the various entities around the state, the affinity groups, like the Frederick Douglass organization and the teenage Republicans, college Republicans, etc. So he's got a lot of tasks to perform. The important thing about the executive director, from my perspective, is that he operates. He's hired by the Central Committee and operates under their supervision, but the chairman of the party is also responsible for everything the party does or fails to do. So the executive director and I will interact very regularly and very actively to make sure that what he or she is capable of doing, I will complement, and I will work independently of him on the other things that are not being done by the party or that require my leadership skills. The executive director of the party must be in Raleigh routinely every day. I live close to Raleigh, so I will plan to be there to interact directly with them and face to face with him or her. There are occasions where I will need to travel, and the executive director will be back there minding the fort, so to speak. So, I don't think there's. I think the one thing that I would emphasize about the executive director and his relationship or her relationship back to me is the fact that we have to complement each other effectively. We cannot be in an adversarial relationship, and we cannot have anything public where it shows an incongruity between the executive director and the chairman. So I will expend an enormous amount of energy to make sure that we are continuously synchronized with everything that we're doing, and to make sure that the executive director is meeting all the requirements of the Central Committee, and that anything that he or she cannot accomplish, I will make sure it's being taken care of myself. Thank you.
Okay, so a very good, very well polished answer to that question. As you can clearly see, Jim Womack clearly understands what the duties of an executive director are, and he clearly understands how the state party should operate. Now you're going to hear a little bit different story from Michael Watley. If I can, let's see, 2140, I believe, was the cut.
States that President Trump must win in order to win his re-election. Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Florida, right? We're the top two state opportunities for...
I already know that.
Governor. We also have the Senate race is going to be the most expensive in the country, plus our judicial races and others, right?
Answer the question.
This is a national focus state. So I have talked to folks on the executive committee who are currently running the search. I have told them that I would like to see us open it up to a national level search.
Stop. Okay, first of all, he says the executive committee is in charge of picking the executive director. Actually, that is false. The Central Committee actually has the final say on who the executive director is. Secondly, Watley wants to open the search for an executive director nationwide. Okay, now that may sound good, but my problem is that each state, you have 50 states in this country, and as Benjamin Franklin says, each state is a laboratory of innovation, okay? Each state has their own laws, their own cultural quirks, and, things of that caliber, okay? But the problem with opening the search nationwide is that you're not going to get if you do that and you hire somebody from out of state, especially if they're from Arizona or Wyoming or somewhere out west, you're not going to get someone, unless they're originally from North Carolina, you're not going to get someone who understands the cultural quirks of North Carolina, and more importantly, the politics of North Carolina. Not just how the plan of organization operates, but also what exactly are the patterns of your typical North Carolina voter. It would always seem that they're fairly moderate. The neither party really wants to go too far to either side, I should say. So I don't really like that answer very much. Okay, now our next soundbite here. The question is, what will you do to help on the judicial races? Okay, now we're going to hear from Michael Watley. first, and it gets pretty dull real quick, as you can tell. Here we go.
Let me just start by saying that we will take them seriously. I think what happened to Barbara Jackson
I hope so.
is a travesty. I think what happened in the cycle before with Bob Edmonds was very avoidable. I think that we are looking at a situation right now where Tom Steyer and George Soros and progressives are putting tens of millions of dollars into elected judicial races and attorney races all around the country. We need a dedicated program within the party to raise significant money to be able to help train and fund and support the candidates for the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. We also need to make sure that they can do their own fundraising and that we are working with national groups who want to see conservative judges on the bench. The training that we need to put in place for them needs to be able to trickle down to our candidates at the judicial.
Okay, that's enough. I'm getting bored on that. Jim Womack to the rescue. Da 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 da. Here we go. Here's what Jim Womack thinks of what will he do to help judicial candidates in 2020.
In 2018, I stood side by side with then Chairman Robin Hayes and appealed that business as usual wouldn't get Barbara Jackson reelected, wouldn't get her reelected. And he stood and said, well, just put an R beside her name, it's simple enough. And I said, no, not that simple. And I said, she's going to be in desperate shape if we don't do more for her, and we didn't, and she didn't. She didn't win.
Womack was right.
It's more desperate than any other thing in the state of North Carolina right now is the fact that we've lost control of the judiciary, both the appeals court and the Supreme Court. And I've committed myself to never letting that happen again. Regardless of whether I win this race, we're going to make sure that our justices win this year. So there's several things that we have to do to make that happen. The first thing is we've got to get the justices and the Council of State races, all these candidates, have got to get out of the logistics business. They spend so much time trying to get signs and campaign materials all over the state, they don't have time to campaign. And folks, we can fix that. I'm going to fix that. I've already started coordinating to put a system of warehousing and receiving points all over the state.
That's true, I know where it is.
Warehouse and distribution warehouses at all the Council of State and all the judicial candidates, all they have to do is send it to a drop point. We will break it down and distribute it all over the state for them. They'll never again have to worry about that. The second thing is we've got to get them in the business of professional messaging. Very few people realize that 2.5 million voter guides got mailed all over the state last year. And the reason those voter guides were so effective for the Democrats is because they professionally edited all of the judicial candidates' write-ups, and we didn't do it. And you can tell by reading it. I had people go to the polls, Republicans going to the polls that were conservative and said, well, I like this guy Anglin. His write-up is better than hers. And that's why we lost votes, folks. We got to stop that. We'll do professional editing of all of our write-ups.
Okay, so you can see definitely a clear contrast between both candidates. But we're not done yet. This is on what are your strengths and weaknesses, and you're going to hear Mr. Womack really speak from his heart, and then you hear Michael Watley with more of that predictable, dull RNC pablum. Okay, here we go.
Well, my strongest asset is my faith in Jesus Christ. With that love of the Lord and the knowledge of Judeo-Christian principles and the teachings of particularly of the New Testament and the Holy Bible, those things arm you for any challenge you may have in your life. My faith transcends any challenge or complication I have. I'm a Matthew 5:16 kind of Christian. I believe in letting our light shine, and that we don't win over people to our way of thinking and our way of life by simply being tyrannical or mean or elitist. Our job is to surround ourselves with people who are intelligent and calm and deliberative in all that they do, and that stand firm on biblical values. Those things are my greatest strength. Now, how it helps the party is, we've got a brand problem. We're looked at as a bunch of tired old white guys. That's what people think of as elitists. And that's not the Republican Party that I know and love. The Republican Party I know is a party of all the people, a party of color, a party of both genders, a party that believes in traditional American values, a party that is designed around the framers' intent for the country. The framers didn't create parties. They created a governance structure. And what we did is we created parties. And those parties have evolved, and they've merged and migrated. And if you think about what the Democrats are today, they're not the party of the Bible. They're not like that. And we need to be people of the book. We need to be people who believe what we're taught in the Bible and that espouse those views and let that light shine throughout the community and throughout the country. That's what will bring people into the Republican Party, and that's what will bring victory. Because people want to know that you stand that way. If you listen to Rush Limbaugh, listen to what he says sometimes. He says, don't be ashamed of your values. Stand firm on your conservative principles. People will respect that. They'll follow you if you do that. Everybody's worried about compromising and trying to be like, trying to be more accommodating to the liberal values, the leftist values. I say no. Stand firm on what you believe, and let that be your guide. Because I got to tell you, that's the kind of leadership people will follow, and that's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that wins elections. Because this country, if you think about Ronald Reagan and what kind of a movement what came out of the Reagan administration, former Democrat, and the power of his firm belief in God and the power of him standing firm on his principles even won over a Democrat-dominated House of Representatives, got a lot done. And you look at what Donald Trump's doing today, the first president that I can remember that actually was willing to move the capital of Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, that stands firm on Christian principles. I'm going to tell you, that's the kind of leadership we need in this party. That's the kind of leadership that will win elections. That's the kind of leadership that will win in 2020.
Okay, Michael, what do you have for us?
So I've been a Republican activist in North Carolina for 35 years. I started in 1984 as a sophomore at Watauga High School up in Boone. I had a classmate of mine come up and said, "Hey, I saw a Jesse Helms sticker on your locker. How'd you like to be the vice chair for the Watauga County Young Republican?"
Okay, I've heard that story 27 times already. Thank you very much, Michael. Okay, now I'm going to focus on some things that happened at a forum in Raleigh, the Rumble in Raleigh. This was going back about two weeks ago, I believe. Give my notes here. Money in politics was one of the topics that was discussed. Let me get my mic. Okay, so money in politics is one of the topics that was discussed. And John Lewis, we haven't talked about him yet, but he is my second choice for chairman if Jim Womack gets eliminated on first ballot. Okay, then I will shift support to John Lewis versus Whatley, because Whatley's just way out there. He's very, very dry. But John Lewis, yeah, he's openly supported Robin Hayes. Okay, he's established him a candidate, but I know exactly what I'm getting with John Lewis, and I actually believe that I can work with him and can get some things done. Michael Whatley, I have no idea. He could be the best chairman the NCGOP has ever had, or he could be the worst chairman we've ever had. I don't know. And I have two proven commodities in Jim Womack and John Lewis. Okay? Why would I want to vote against two proven commodities? Okay? It's just, it doesn't make sense. But we're talking about money in politics. John Lewis did a very good job explaining the budget process in the state party. He understands party structure and how money flows to different pots. You have a pot for the state party, you have a pot for the RNC, and then you have two different pots, one for the NC House candidates, one for the NC Senate candidates. Okay, but Jim Womack had a very good thing to say. He said, look, Lewis and Whatley can tell you how to make it happen. Or no. Lewis and Whatley know what needs to happen, but Womack is the only one who knows how to make it happen. And he says that you need a full-time chairman, one we need excited candidates, and you need to be able to hold elected officials accountable. People are not wanting to give right now, and that's because, well, you have dull candidates and you don't have a full-time chairman. Donor class is not sustainable. The party needs to set goals. They need to ask the question, what's the monthly burn rate? How much money does it cost every month to operate the headquarters? And stop operating the party like a club. Operate like a business. Okay. Next question was on small rural county operations. Again, Jim Womack nails this one. He started a gun raffle idea, and actually it originated from Cabarrus County, which was home of John Lewis. Okay, this raised $40,000 for Lee County. And the key thing, according to Jim Womack, when you're operating a small rural county especially, you have to find out where the Democrats are weak and exploit that weakness. And here in the South, everybody, whether you're Republican or Democrat, everybody loves guns, right? And that is a big weakness of Democrats because they are weak on the Second Amendment. Very weak, okay? They want their guns, but their party wants to take them away from them. He also said training should be year-round. They should have an on-demand library as well and something via the internet. And also, being downtown in your county seat and having an accessible presence is so important. And at Christmas time, the party does Salvation Army bell ringing. They also, every week, they have church. A black church has church at their headquarters in downtown Sanford. Also, an Hispanic church, they also use the headquarters for church as well. Let's see. John Lewis says, find out what counties need. Connect similar counties and have a conference call. Also use the RNC data center. And counties should utilize a discount rate provided by the state party to send out local mailers. Michael Watley is a very basic answer, says messaging and oh yeah, let's get this TV station idea. Which is actually not a bad idea, I should say. Okay. Urban suburban strategy. Let's see. Okay. Jim Womack is the only candidate in this race who has broad technical experience. He has social media experience, great with Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. YouTube must be more prominent. Hey, YouTube right here. Hi. Black urban radio in Mecklenburg and Wake County is essential to getting more people elected. And the Womack says that the NCGOP has been MIA in their target advertising of voters. John Lewis, according to Urban Suburban Strategy, says need to talk with Wake and Mecklenburg County. This answer from Michael Watley I actually like. This is probably his only bright moment of the entire campaign forum season. He says we need permanent headquarters in the counties. Permanent staff and rural messaging is different from city messaging. State parties should work with counties. They should not override them. Okay. Now, let's see. Okay. I'm going to, for a closing statement here, I'm going to let Jim Womack do the talking. Here we go.
Now we're ready to rumble. Okay, you heard two answers. You heard one that didn't answer the question because he doesn't know the answer to the question. Number two, you heard a guy who's part of the problem. Okay? We have been dysfunctional in this party for years. And I will, it's true, folks, it's been dysfunctional. We have a tyrannical style of leadership in this party which says that and my opponent just admitted that he was part of the rewrite. He created the situation we have right now. I mean, he admitted that he rewrote the document, and the guy refuses to resign, and there's an impasse, okay? So he created the situation, he helped create the situation that we're in. Folks, look, Mr. Hayes, I ran against him 2 years ago because he wasn't properly leading the party. And I, unfortunately, did not convey a convincing argument that we have to change the way we do business. It's not a country club, okay? It's a business. And you don't operate it with centralized, authoritarian type rules. The Central Committee is being ignored right now. They've been ignored since Mr. Hayes took over. He does his own thing. The Executive Committee of the party exists in name only. We only meet twice a year. One of those is to get some sort of fake budget that we have to rubber stamp, and we don't get told anything about what's going on in the party.
Yeah.
Folks, the plan of organization is broken. It needs a complete bottom-up, top-down type of review. He talked about an audit. We need to completely rewrite that thing, and we need to do it over the next year, not wait until the next convention. We need to write it over the next year, where it's full transparency. Everyone has a possibility of inputting to that plan of organization, and then we create one that runs like a business, not like a club, not like a power-centric type of club. This party is broken right now. Mr. Hayes should have resigned because he's under federal indictment, could likely go to jail, and he's damaging our brand every day he stays in office, okay? Every day. Now look, folks, I'm not angry at Mr. Hayes. I'm not angry at anyone. I'm just passionate about this party. If we want to get back on a winning track with our judicial races,
Yes.
back, re-elect our president, if we're going to do that, we're going to start operating like we know what we're doing, okay? And that's
Here.
put a chairman in place that's been a battlefield general that knows how to organize the troops, and let's go out and win against these stupid Democrats, okay? We can do that in 2020. We're not going to do it by playing footsie with the plan of organization.
For the Conservative Pelican, I am indeed Bobby Crawford. Thanks for watching, everyone.